Handed out in the NFL over the last few hours. We'll get to those here in just a second. Rookies, though, report to training camp today for the Buffalo Bills. No word yet on if defensive tackle TJ Sanders is going to be holding out, as he, along with 29 other second-round picks, have not yet signed their rookie deals. Second-rounders appear to be looking for fully guaranteed contracts. Now to the big contracts handed out today. The Chiefs and guard Trey Smith, 4-year, $94 million deal. $70 million of that is guaranteed, while the Jets, they get their second deal done in as many days. Cornerback Sauce Gardner, 4-year extension, $120.4 million. $60 million of that is guaranteed. One player, though, not getting a big payday. That is Washington wide receiver Terry McLaurin. He did speak with the Washington media earlier this afternoon and spoke on his continuing looking for a new contract and also on his frustrations and lack of communication that has come from the organization over the last month. McLaurin is in the last year of his deal and did clarify, though, that he has not yet decided if he will be reporting to camp next week. Sabres forward arbitration with defenseman Bo Byram. The team announced last night a 2-year deal with an average annual value of $6.25 million. The team also announced today that they have signed this year's first-round pick, Rodney Murka, to his 3-year entry-level deal. Paul Hamilton will join the show at 3:30 to talk more on this. The MLB All-Star Game is tonight at 8 following the Home Run Derby last night. And also starting this evening, the Bills and Sabres Foundations hosting the 5th annual Give 716 Day. They are raising as much money for local charities as possible, and it does begin at 7:16 p.m. tonight and running to 11:59 p.m. tomorrow night, Wednesday, July 16th. Over 550 charities are participating. All fans are encouraged to make a donation of any amount to their favorite charity or charities and can do so by going to give716.org between 7:16 p.m. tonight and 11:59 p.m. tomorrow night, Wednesday, July 16th. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Word in less than a second, I will tell you how many letters are in it, but I cannot do anything mechanically. I don't even know how to put a game together for 3-year-olds.
And the Bulldog.
Fool me once, shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Obviously, that's old because, as you may know from listening within the last 10 years, I've recently put a lawnmower together. So there's the update on that. Although, Bulldog and I had an interesting conversation last week or the week before about how when you need to figure out how to do something, you just search it. And as long as you can understand the directions, you can just follow along and do the thing, which is different than having to know it. So you can find that on the Odyssey on-demand rewind app if you're living in the past, because it's like 2 weeks ago. So you may not ask me about it. I'll tell you about it, because that was really interesting. Like, you don't have to know anything anymore. Do you? I got into this partly because I knew stuff, and now I don't think you have to know anything. You just you have to know how to look for it, and that might be kind of the same thing, which is a little bit depressing, but anyway, that's how it is. Thanks for listening. Bulldog is off this week. I'll talk to Paul later, and also Evan Silva. I know he's excited. That'll be in about an hour. One thing that I wanted to just throw out there for anybody who might have a take. So on Tuesday mornings, I do a podcast called ADP Chasing. It's very nerdy. I'm sure you'd hate it. It's about fantasy football, and we're tracking trends, in theory, tracking trends in average draft position week to week. There's been a lot this week, especially for a week when nobody's really practicing. The Chargers are in, and Najee Harris is part of this. He had a fireworks accident, so what happens to Najee Harris? What happens to Amarian Hampton, the rookie the Chargers drafted to be in their backfield with Harris? What happens to Kinshawn Judkins, the Browns running back, who's had some very ugly allegations levied against him recently in the realm of domestic violence? What do you do there? They drafted a second rookie, Dylan Sampson. So is he interesting now? Is Jerome Ford interesting now? What about the Browns? The 49ers have Jawan Jennings, wide receiver, had a big year. We talked about him a little bit yesterday through the lens of James Cook. here's somebody that had a big year. Does he get what he wants, a new contract or a trade? We have this a lot with the Niners. Or does he just walk through the door like Cook might do? We talked, again, about him a lot yesterday. Maybe that's what happens there. Anyway, ADP chasing on YouTube, you can find it. And today was a challenge because we have 4 of us, and 2 of the 4 were not there. One guy, Davis, had a vacation scheduled, so he was not available. The other guy, Pat Carane, had a flight canceled from New York to LA, so he couldn't make it. And it's myself and Jacob Sanderson. Let's just get through it. So we start, everything's going fine. Then my Wi-Fi dumps out. So now what? So Jacob, he's doing his best. He's out there in Vancouver. It's like 6:30 in the morning. 2 of us are not present. Now I'm not there either. Like, what is he supposed to do? He fires up a draft. Cool. So underdog, Best Ball Mania 6. Let's go. Is it $1 million or $2 million for first place? I don't know. I don't really care about the difference. I'm not one of these James Cook types that, parses between millions of dollars. $1 million, is this making the Super Bowl or winning the Super Bowl a little bit? $1 million, $2 million. To me, that sounds about the same. If that were to come into my life, I could pay off my house, pay the bills, get through, high school years. I think either way. So it's obviously it's 100% more to win $2 million. But to me, if would you take the $1 million right now? Of course. So anyway, this is how we do it. It's all in Jacob's account. I'm not even online. I don't even know that he's made the decision, well, nobody else is here and we're not going to end the show. Let's just do a draft. I jump back on. It's the first round. I'm there for the whole thing. He's asking me opinions, what would you do here? Everything comes together nicely. Who? Nico Collins, Brian Thomas. It's just sort of like a smooth, easy, the kind of draft we like. It's all in his name. I've never met this guy. We do this show every Tuesday morning. He and I are the 2 people of the 4 who are newest to it. But, I like him and everything's good. What happens if we win? Have you ever been in this kind of situation? Remember Jeremy Kahn from Baltimore last week was on the show? And at the end of the conversation, I've liked him. We've talked to him, 5 or 10 times. And at the end of the conversation, he's like, I said, I'm going to Maryland last weekend. I'm going to Maryland. And he's like, oh, well, if you need any recommendations, let me know. So I follow him, and he follows me right back. And I send him the DM, yes, I'm going. Thanks for offering. What are your thoughts? And he sends me 4 or 5 restaurant names. Great. So now I'm following Jeremy Kahn. And the first thing I see from him on Twitter, I think is the next day. It's a story on Yahoo about a woman who won $10 million in the lottery, a waitress. And the story's like, oh, not all it's cracked up to be. So how did she win $10 million? I will tell you. She's sitting, she's just sitting there having her brunch or whatever it is. No, she's the waitress. I'm sorry. She's the waitress. And a customer, instead of leaving her money for a tip, leaves her a lottery ticket. And it hits. So she wins the lottery. Guy doesn't leave her the $4 or whatever. What? $5? $10? What is that tip likely to be at a diner outside Baltimore for breakfast? Like less? So whatever. It could have been $5. Instead of leaving her the money, he leaves her a lottery ticket, and she wins $10 million. Maybe you saw the story yourself. And, now what happens? Everything goes sideways. This story is kind of incredible. There 3 different people come for it, or groups of people come for it. One is the guy, this is not in order, I think, but one is the customer who finds out that ticket that he left for her is a winning ticket, and he's like, well, where's my share? I don't think that went anywhere. There was some legal aspect to that. I don't think he got any money. Another one was the staff, because somebody on the staff said, they had all agreed if anybody ever won the lottery, they would share in the money. And so that might have been something. And then apparently she had an ex-husband who found out that she won $10 million and like kidnapped her and tried to take her somewhere, and she grabbed the gun at the last minute and shot him. I mean, you got to see it. And so he survived, and she got out of that, and I guess it ended pretty well that she, got some money, or she got all the money, whatever it was, and is living happily. But, this is what maybe can happen. How I am is we've got to figure this out up front. I don't want any scenario like that. I don't want any potential ramifications where, oh, but you said this. Oh, but we didn't talk about this. I don't like that. I just want to know right before we start, what are the terms? If she wins the lottery, I leave her a ticket, I'm making sure, like, listen, I'm not coming back for this, or whatever the deal is. What was one thing from that was like, she said, or he accused her of saying that she would buy him a new truck if she won something like that. She would buy him a new truck. And he's like, where's my truck? I don't know. I don't want anything like that out there. So here's Jacob Sanderson today on ADP chasing. He's drafting the team. I'm giving my advice. Oh, let's take Tet McMillan. Let's just do this, whatever. All along the way, let's not pick James Cook. And I never pick James Cook. Let's just, do this. We like the team. This is what you kind of hear most of the time in this. He's like, oh, we just won. We just won Best Ball Mania, $1 million, $2 million, whatever. So that was this morning. I get here, and I think, I don't want any sort of issue here. I mean, what are the odds that we'll actually win? Incredibly remote. Still, I don't want to have it be a thing. So I just, send him a message. What's your Venmo? It's a $25 entry. That's not nothing. They have the mini schnauzers and the dachshunds and the puppy too that are like $3, $1. $25 is not nothing. So Jacob, like, what's your Venmo? I'll just give you half. So we don't have if we win, I don't want there to be any sort of, controversy. I don't want this to divide us. Plus, he's Canadian. Like, I don't even know what that means in terms of the money and the taxes and just sort of an internet. We don't need that right now, do we? We don't need another international incident between two of the most friendlier countries, the relationships in the history of the world, U.S. and Canada. We don't want that to get worse. So, just what's your Venmo? Let's just settle this. We'll work it out. He's like, LOL, don't worry about it. Okay. I mean, I'm saving the message. So, like, what would you do there? What happens if we actually win this thing? What is he giving me? Is he giving me literally half of the money? Am I getting $1 million on Venmo from Jacob if we actually win? Is this something that, like, as we get closer, we talk about? And does he sort of like disappear from my life? Is he like the waitress and I'm the trucker, or, what have you? I don't know. I just kind of wanted to have it all be sort of agreed upon. Last year, we had this, Adam Krautwurst and I had this with Bulldog and with Trista and Nick Bakay and a handful of other people when here was is this quid pro quo? Here was the arrangement. We would like to have you on our stream and draft this team with us, and then we'll split the winnings. So everybody's like, great. I mean, that's a win for... I would say yes to that most of the time. Like, unless I'm super busy, I'm in for, just ask me. I'm in for any, I want it in writing, but I'm in for any draft where, I'll give you my time and we'll split whatever we win. That seems, good for me. So the whole thing goes on. Trista comes on, and we drafted a bunch of Buccaneers or Panthers. The Week 17 game might have been Tampa Bay and Carolina, and that was like the key game. If you're going to win these tournaments, the Week 17 game is it. Like, you got to get to Week 17, and then you're hoping that game, whatever, Miami and Tampa a few years ago when Brady was still playing, what was this game, and Evans had a big game. This is how my friend Pat won $2 million. Exactly. This is the Hamlin year. Exactly like this. So, just I want to make sure everybody knows the terms. And I said to Trista, if we get to the finals, that week 17, you and I are going to this game in Tampa. She's like, absolutely. So we didn't. Like, of course, that didn't happen. The best team of those that I had was with Chris. And that was a Buccaneers team, too. And we made no such agreement about going to Tampa because we both know legally one of us is always required to be here. So there's never a chance, unless somebody's like really sick, there's never a show where one of us is not here. There was no conversation about like meeting in Tampa for this thing. But that was our best team easily last year. And, this is very exciting. This is how tournaments work. Everything's cooking. Mayfield, Evans, Bucky Irving, probably. Who knows who else? I don't know. Derrick Henry, I think we had on that team. We talked about it. Everything's firing on that team. Then you get to the playoffs and we lost. And so I sent him on Venmo like $33 or whatever that was. Whatever a third of the actual winnings was, I sent to Bulldog. Like, here you go. This is how this ends. So I don't know. I just want it out there that I am willing to pay Jacob my U.S. currency $12.50. I'll even bump that up to $15 because he actually did it when I was sitting there trying to get my connection back. And, I'm grateful to him for that. And I'll go 60-40. I'll give him $15 U.S. It's got to be like $100 where he lives. So anyway, I guess if I don't need to say so, or if I do need to say so, that's where my head is at.
I can understand that. I'd be the same as you. Like, are we going to do the conversation now, or like you said, like if it gets closer, we're going to have the conversation? I'd be the person that would push it. Like if you're okay, this team is working, this is going well. Like, hey, were we serious about that? Are we really going to do this? Like,
right.
I don't want to be pushy, but are we doing this?
There's nothing to really say until the end of week 14. That's how these things go, where it'll be a 12-team, it's always a 12-team draft, and the top two will advance from week 14, and then you get put into a new pod, and then it gets exciting. Because if you win, it's hard. It's almost impossible mathematically. But if you win 15 and then 16, like, okay, even if we got to week 17, we would be in for real money. And he and I did discuss on the stream, if we get there, we will go to the game in week 17, Jacksonville versus Indianapolis. Just bracing everybody for that now. When the Bills play the Eagles, if I'm not here, unless I'm fired by then, which is very possible always, if I'm still here, working here by then, and I'm not here that day, it's because I am at the Jacksonville-Indianapolis game, which when I mentioned it this morning, I'm like, that game's in Jacksonville, right? He's like, no, which changes it.
That was going to be my next question, too, because it does change how
it does change it. It's in Indianapolis, which is fine. At least I can drive that. He's a Colts fan. Who's a Colts fan? I actually know a Colts fan. Do you? Do you know a Colts fan? I do. This guy. And he's a Colts fan because, maybe this is something you can relate to. He's a Colts fan because when he was like that age, what is that age? 7 or 8?
It's always around that area.
Peyton Manning, Indianapolis. They were not the Patriots, but they might. What would I have done? I would never have rooted for the Patriots. They were like the team he glommed onto. So Indy, that's why he likes the Colts. It's also why he likes the Celtics. This is a lot about Jacob. I know, but that's why he likes the Colts, because when he was 7 or 8 years old, 2006, I'm guessing, when they won, they were like a team you could really like. Like, they were great. And so that's not something to be ashamed of or anything like that. But anyway, this is all a story about what to do if you have sort of an unwritten agreement with anybody. See your attorney when this might come up. Make sure that you're not stuck in a situation where we're actually going to win this money. We won the lottery. We won Best Ball Mania 6, whatever it is, and now we're going to court or anything like that. You don't want to have that happen. Did I need to tell you that? You don't want to have that happen. You also don't want to have happen having to sign Bowen Byram. You also do not want to have that happen. But the Sabres, I think, tried to trade him or hoped to trade him, and then they couldn't, and now have signed him to a not something that has to be like something we complain about forever. It's only 2 years. At least it's only 2 years. 2 years times $6.25 million. Okay. Paul Hamilton has liked Byram, to say the least, more than I have. My issue with him is not entirely his fault. It's only his fault in, if you will, in the context of whether to sign him to a huge contract. It's that if he's not playing with one of the 10 best defensemen in the NHL, we're getting killed. And so, in my mind, you would never want to sign this player for 50 cents because, like, I can find somebody. The Sabres have not been successful at this, but I should be able to find somebody anywhere for close to the minimum that just is not getting run over unless he's playing with one of the best defensemen in the league. So that's kind of an easy one. Maybe the Sabres overestimated Byram's value, or I don't know what. Who knows with this team? But ends up he gets $12.5 million for 2 years, and it could have been worse. It could have been 8 years for some $50 million something. I guess it could have ended up there. But I thought Kevin Adams was talking like he had a comment. I mentioned it a few times. He had a comment. He made a comment about talking to the agent. We're just trying to be, honest with him or something. Like it felt like to me, Adams was saying, we're really not interested in you long-term or at all in the player. But, however it ends is going to be how it ends. Like, we can't just control everything about the situation. I think they tried to trade him but couldn't. And so now we're at a 2-year extension for Byram, which means the Sabres have, Samuelson too, but Dahlin, Power, Byram, then Samuelson locked down. And for a team that defensively has usually left a lot to be desired, despite having one of the best in the league, yikes, why be so bent on keeping it together? They would never have discussed buying out Samuelson, we were told. And here's a player that all the insiders thought was on the market, and now it's like mid-July, 2 weeks after free agency starts, and he's signed. So I'll talk to Paul about that coming up here. Evan Silva today. I've got some interesting over-unders on Josh Allen's season. I'll get to the Jets 2 days in a row. Make a big signing today. It's Sauce Gardner. Yesterday it was Garrett Wilson. So I want to talk about that a little bit. And certainly have time for your calls at 803-0550. But next, Paul on the Sabres news after the break. This is Mike Schopp. Bulldog is off this week. Thanks for listening to WGR. Seems a little bit like the NFL has done it again. Although this time it's not spearheaded by the likes of Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport necessarily, who tell you almost always simultaneously, even though they're competitors, what the latest signing is or breaking news is. I feel like the last couple of days have been about uniforms. And last week I spent, I don't even know anymore. Was it last week? Bulldog and I were talking about red helmets. We both, appreciated it as a low point. This is July sneaked up on us. This is what happens sometimes where when you're out of ideas, you talk about the clothes. And we did, red helmets? And then Paul came on. I'm like, Paul, red helmets? He's like, no, I wouldn't want that. And one thing, I didn't even think of it at the time, but I liked about the idea of red helmets for the Bills was their throwbacks would look more different. Like the thing about, I don't mean this is a bad thing, but their throwback uniform, Standing Buffalo, maybe a different lighter shade of blue, their uniforms look almost the same. Stripes are different, but they look almost the same. You watch the Steelers or somebody, and their uniforms look like costumes. To each his own. But the Bills' throwback uniforms, going back to the mid-'60s, AFL championship teams, did not look that different from what they usually wear. If you wore the red helmets, well, you wouldn't have that. So I was eager to, Paul is coming up here. I was eager to talk to Paul about the Chargers because Paul is a big Chargers uniform guy, I think. And they unveiled a bunch of new variations of their, I like Jeremy's tweet about this today when it came to the Chargers. Like, don't mess with us with uniform changes that are almost indiscernible. Let's have it look different. Let's have it mean something. So I agree with that. And so you have the Chargers, you had Washington yesterday,
and then Tampa today with their 1976 uniforms.
Fine, right? Knock yourselves out. Just everything is pretty much, though, what we're used to, I would say. Either it's what you used to wear or it's almost what you used to wear. Washington can't go back all the way to the 80s. We know that. And we'll see what the Bills do because maybe whether it's red helmets or something else, we get some sort of new look from them. All right, Paul, I've put it out there. Let's hope that I'm right about how your feelings. The Chargers uniform is like special to you nostalgically.
Yeah, we're really going to go with all yellow, huh?
Yes, there's all yellow now with the Chargers.
Yeah, no thank you.
Highlighters.
Yeah. No, I don't like it. Don't like it at all. Even, going back to the dark blue or navy blue or whatever you want to call it. I mean, the powder blue is the best thing for them. I was glad to see they got back to it basically for good. And, I saw the all yellow. I couldn't believe it.
And so for the Bills, I know I asked you last week about the red helmets. Like, you don't have to like red helmets, but at least if they wore red helmets, the throwbacks would look more old-timey. They would look more like, I think, that, what it used to look like in the 60s than they do when the Bills change from what they currently wear to that, because it's pretty similar.
Yeah, I mean, the Standing Buffalo white helmet with the red Standing Buffalo, I mean, to me, that's going back. I mean, to what the Bills used to wear. I mean, if you want to get cute with them, you could always wear that blue helmet that Josh Allen shows up in once a year when the fans come out for practice. But, I mean, that's never been worn if you want to do something a little bit different. But, again, I'm more of the traditionalist, and if you're going to go back and do the Standing Buffalo, that's fine, or the Patriots in their reds with, the Patriot on the helmet or whatever, that's fine.
Love it. Where are you at on the Sabres uniforms, by the way? They've tried a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, what they have now. I mean, the blue and gold. I wasn't a fan of the slug. I mean, the slug was just awful. I mean, I know a lot of people grew up with the black uniforms and the goat head, but again, that's not my thing. I didn't grow up with that. To me, the Buffalo Sabres are what we see right now.
Can you remember how you felt? Were you offended when, at the time, the Sabres moved to the then new arena out of the Odd and changed everything about their uniforms? Did that offend you?
Yeah, I mean, again, I just and I understand why teams do it. It's because you're going to make money, because now everybody's got to go out and buy a new jersey. So you do things like that. You change things. You go to black because, well, nobody has the blacks. So now everybody who's a Sabre fan has to go out and get a black jersey. Oh, cool. And then, nobody has the goat head or the slug. So, well, everybody's got to go out and get a jersey because now everybody's got a jersey. So you got to do something to get people to the store to buy jerseys because everybody has a jersey right now. So I get where they're coming from there. It's revenue based.
Mm-hmm. Well, when it comes to Paul, there's no need to replace anything because he's had the same look for a long time. Always dapper, the fun ties. It's pretty consistent over the years. Paul Hamilton on the West Her Hotline. I'm Mike Schopp. Bulldog is off this week. So, Bowen Byram, Paul, it happens. 2 years, $6.25 million per. I was afraid of a long-term deal because the Sabres seem to always be in this defensive position that they would commit to him for much longer. I'm relieved that didn't happen. And you like the player more than I do. Is this maybe okay?
I think this is good for both the player and the team. The team gets a chance to see more of him, to see if maybe eventually they want to go long-term with him. See how he meshes, keep him with Darlene for the season, which works very well for him. And for the player, it's like, all right, well, the GM keeps telling me that we're going to be improving and we're going to do this and the team is on the way up and we're on the cusp of making the playoffs and getting better. And, so he can, play for a year and see what he thinks. See if he decides that, you know what? I do like what I see here. I do like we made the playoffs this year, and we got a good young team. And, I got to play 25 minutes a game because I was Darlene's partner. And, didn't get to play on the power play, but got to play in a lot of big situations. And you know what? Maybe I would like to commit to the team. So I think it's good for both sides to get for Bo Byram to see if the Sabres mean what they say as far as what they're doing to trying to become a good team, and for the Sabres to see, exactly what they have in Bo Byram and if it's something they'd like to commit to long term.
My issue with this player is partly about, and Bulldog and I have sparred on this, like, why do I need to invest more than almost the minimum on a player to put with Rasmus Dahlin? Isn't that my part of my advantage in having Dahlin is that I shouldn't need to do that? Because when Byram was away from Dahlin last year, it went pretty badly, I thought. So can it be justified that you would spend good money on a partner for Dahlin?
Yeah, because they have the money to do it. I mean, did they overpay for Byram a little bit? Yeah, probably. And it doesn't bother me in the least because they've got money to do it. I mean, right now they have one more player to sign in Timmins as far as it goes against the cap, and you got $7.3, almost $7.4 million to play with. So, and you've already, quote, overpaid for Byram slightly, I would say. But that's kind of when you're the team that hasn't made the playoffs in 14 years. Even when you're dealing with your own people, you may have to overpay. When you re-sign Alex Tuck, you may raise your eyebrows a little bit. Because you may say, ooh, that's a little more than I thought you might have to. Otherwise, because to me, Alex Tuck's holding all the cards. So if you want Alex Tuck to stay, if you're the Buffalo Sabres, and you say he's a priority, you may have to spend more than maybe you thought to do it. So that's the when you're a team that hasn't made the playoffs in 14 years and run way this ownership runs this team, you got to spend a little bit more money to keep players and to bring players in.
So is Byram somebody, like, this is usually what we do when Bills or Sabres, somebody is young like this, and you're hopeful, right? Your fingers are crossed. You're hoping that the player can evolve and really help you. He just turned 24 barely a month ago. Is he somebody for you? I mean, there's physical talent here. Is he somebody for you that you'd expect to get better? I mean, I say again, we do that sort of instinctively with guys, but a lot of times they are what they are at this point.
Yeah, sometimes they are. You're right. But yes, I would expect him to get better. Any player that was 23 years old, I would expect to be better than what you see. I don't think 23 is the age where you are who you are. It can be, and with some players it has been. But I think there still can be some growth from players, who are 23 years old. I mean, once you get to 25, 26 years old, yeah, I agree. I think you are who you are. You might have a outlier year at some point, but you basically, unless you're a goaltenders tend to sometimes wait till they're 26, 27 before all of a sudden they hit their stride. But for forwards and defensemen, my age would probably be a little bit older, 25-ish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, defensemen maybe more than forwards. Would you be a little bit more lenient with defensemen? I know that the data sometimes contradicts that, but it seems like that's conventional wisdom, is that I'm thinking about Chara, actually. It's a long time ago, but defensemen needing more time.
Yeah, think of Hedman. Think of Carlson. They all you think of Dahlin. What Dahlin was after 3 years or 4 years, and then all of a sudden he hit his stride. Those are all guys who it took 3, 4, year. I don't know if I want to say 5 because I'm not looking back at their numbers right in front of me, but took some time. People were wondering what do we got here in Hedman? This isn't going well. Then all of a sudden, Hedman became Hedman. Some get it right away. Makar. You didn't have to wait for him. Quinn, out in Vancouver, Quinn Hughes, didn't have to wait for him. Some get it right away, but some, even the great ones, it takes a minute for them to really, blossom into something that's really, really good.
In terms of Byram, Paul, like it's only been a couple of weeks, but you had the draft and then free agency and then they go to arbitration. That's what the plan was going to be for a minute there. That was the announcement. And now you have a deal. How close do you think this result is, 2 times 6 1/4, to what the Sabres maybe intended the whole time? Like, the offer sheet was a little bit, not controversial, but it was debated. Just like, what were they saying by, the whole thing Adams went into about, well, we have the money, the offer sheet happens. How much time was there even for that to manifest? And then arbitration, and now this. Do you think maybe, I don't want to load the question because you might have a different view of this, but I wonder if this is maybe where they knew they were going to end up.
I don't know if they knew they were going to end up, but I behind closed doors, I don't think they're unhappy that they got 2 years from him. And they still may be trading him. All this does is, at least when you're trading to somebody, they know what they're getting as far as financially. They know what they're going to have to pay for the next couple of years. If so, I mean, it doesn't mean that he can't be traded or won't be traded, or still won't try to be traded. But I think all arbitration was, period, is to take the offer sheet off the table. So some team wouldn't come in. They could handle it if some team did that, but they didn't want to have to handle it. They didn't want to pay him some huge amount to keep him, an offer sheet. So I think that's all it was, is just to take the offer sheet off the table. Now let's negotiate.
Right.
Let's talk, or let's find a trade, or let's do both. Let's get a contract signed, maybe find a trade, maybe play a year and see where everybody's at after a year. And then for the Sabres, it's a 2-year deal. So after 1 year, you pretty much got to make a decision. Either, you know what, we like this player, we still like this player, and we want to go long term with him. After July 1st, you can negotiate with him, or trade him like you did Sam Reinhart, who had 1 more year before unrestricted free agency, and it got to a point where Sam told the Sabres, and it was nice of him to do that I'm not resigning. Period. I will play that 1 year for you that I have to. I'll do the best I can for you, and then I'm leaving. So they wound up trading him. So, that could be Byram. He may tell them, nah, I gave it 1 more year. It's not what I was thinking. And once I hit unrestricted free agency, I'm not going to come back. So that would give the Sabres a year then to make a trade and rid themselves of the player.
Of course, Paul, it very much remains to be seen whether this will work out for Reinhart. whether the old gambit worked out for him to essentially force his way out. We don't know yet.
He went through 3 general managers, and other people were getting long-term contracts. He's playing very well. Numbers would have bared that out, and he doesn't get a long-term contract offer. And so I don't blame him at all. Why would he stay when you're disrespected like that? Did it come from the owner? I don't know. But all I know is he never was given a long-term contract offer. Now, I think Adams was ready to do it, and Sam just said, you know what? No. I've done everything I could on the ice for this group, and it hasn't been good enough. I'm sorry. I'm going to take off. Now,
well,
I don't know if that was owner generated. I don't know how it was generated, but it was three different general managers who never did that for him.
This is clearly a major disadvantage that the Sabres are facing right now, and they've even admitted it. The player is going to get the money, the lifestyle point. They're young, chances of winning. Really, the deck is kind of stacked against the Sabres in situations like this. So while Kevin Adams, for me, has made missteps, and even at press conferences he's done so, I mean, I can appreciate what the challenge is, which is when you get a player like that, trying to convince them that this is where they should want to be is tough.
And Jack Eichel decided he wanted to be traded long before the Sabres said anything about his surgery.
Yeah.
He had already decided and asked to be traded. And then all of a sudden the surgery thing came up, and I think it was my opinion. I think the owner just said, you know what? I did everything. I made you captain when I shouldn't have. I gave you a long-term contract for a lot of money, and this is the thanks I get? Why don't you go hang out at home for a while? That's my opinion. I don't know that as fact. But that's my opinion, and I think that's why it took so long for him to find a new home.
Well, again, it very much remains to be seen whether things will work out for Eichel. I mean, that's obviously still it's way too early to make that call. All right, enough sarcasm. So now it's July 15th. Byram is not traded yet, not offer sheeted, anything. Like, there's no holdout. This is done for the time being. Do they have enough scoring? Peterka's gone. What's here that's been brought in to account for that? I don't know. It's not. I think it's probably fair. It's probably safe to assume there won't be much more action here in the next 2 months, even. But what's needed?
Well, they've needed a top 6 forward for this is the 3rd off season in a row, and this general manager has failed to do it. And now he needs 2 because he's traded one. Now, he's filled some other holes by trading one, which I think is good. With Kesselring, I think he's going to be great for Owen Power. I think fans are going to like him. I think they got better in their number 6 defenseman. They had a number 6 defenseman who just turned the puck over constantly and took dumb penalties.
Clifton.
So I think they've even improved there. But to do that, now you've left a hole another hole in your top 6 forwards. Right now, who are your top 6 forwards? Benson and Quinn. Well, those are the 2 spots I'm telling you that should not be top 6 forwards, and that's where, they failed. But at the end of the day, Mike, it doesn't matter if they have a top 6 forward. It doesn't matter if they've gotten, if you really like their defense or whatever. If they don't get big saves at big times, which they didn't get last year, they're not going anywhere. It won't matter whether they make this trade or if they get the top 6 forward or if they get goals or are 6th in the league in goal scoring, or if their power play improved like they did in the last 23 games and they were 9th in the league at the time. None of it matters. If you can't get a big save from your goaltenders, you are not winning, period. And that remains to be seen if that's going to happen.
I'll take 92% of the saves no matter when for me, but we've gone around and around on that over the years. Tonight is the All-Star game, Paul, Major League Baseball. Are you an All-Star game guy?
If I'm around, I watch it or have it on. I mean, it's better than some of the other All-Star games, like the Pro Bowl, where it got to a point where people just stood up and didn't even move. There was just nothing going on. This is of all-star games. This is probably the best. Well, not probably, in my opinion, is the best one. I was glad to see they're going to wear their regular uniforms again. I couldn't stand some of these uniforms.
Oh, is that right?
Like the All-Star. Yeah,
I didn't know that. I saw
that somewhere.
You're probably right. I peeked at it yesterday before Home Run Derby, and they had special jerseys yesterday. Yeah. I didn't think about
I didn't like that. I would prefer they've been in their regular jerseys, but I hope I'm pretty sure they are going to be back in their regular jerseys for the game, and I do like that a lot. So.
Now, Paul, there was a Pirates jersey that was all yellow. So hopefully that's okay. If the Pirates end up tonight, and this is back in the 70s, but there was a Pirates jersey. I bring the Chargers back up, but there was a Pirates jersey that was all yellow, like top to bottom.
Have the Orioles ever worn all orange?
They had an orange jersey, even in that World Series, '79. They had an orange jersey, but
orange with pants and everything.
Don't know. I don't think so. Black pants.
I've seen them. Yeah,
the kind of uniform that would look like a softball uniform.
Yeah, I've seen them all in all black, but I was trying to remember if they had ever worn all orange.
I don't remember orange pants. I have orange pants.
I know the Oakland A's did not wear all yellow. They had yellow jerseys and green jerseys and
white
and all sorts of different ones, but I don't ever remember them being in all yellow. The Pirates, yes, I guess they have been.
Mm-hmm.
Now you mention it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
We just don't want to see it from the Chargers, is the bottom line here.
Not in the least.
I have orange pants. You know this.
Yes, you do. I forgot about that.
But I do not wear them with an orange shirt.
The Buffalo Braves wore all orange.
The
they
Braves.
Had orange shorts and orange jerseys.
And then they were canceled. That's what happened. That's the story of the Braves.
Jerseys. They went to powder blue, and again, I wasn't real happy with that. I got to like those orange jerseys, and then next thing you know, I see Bob McAdoo in powder blue, and no.
You like what's already been sort of established as this team's identity and color scheme, and this is what we're going to do, and change is disruptive.
Yeah, I mean, and I think I've told you this before. I think as a kid, when I decided what teams I liked, I went with the jerseys. I think. I as a kid liked the Chicago Blackhawks. Well, I went towards the jersey. I liked the San Diego Chargers. I liked the jersey. I will say I became a Yankee fan when they were not good. They were in last place, I believe, when I became a Yankee fan when I was very, very young.
Mm-hmm.
And, I liked, their insignia and their jerseys and everything. So I think I was more towards jerseys as a kid, and those were the teams that I tended to like.
Makes sense. Paul, you better...
Expos. I did like the Expos on the as a National League East team. I love the Expos hats.
You better get that, Paul. I've kept you for too long. Thanks for your time.
Okay. No, I don't answer my phone. I let it go to voicemail because most of it's spam.
Anyway. No one does. Anyway, thank you, Paul.
Take care.
Paul's appearances on WGR are brought to you by Equitable Advisors. Planning for your future is about more than just money. Let Equitable be your guide, and by Relax Honda. Relax, we got this. Next, Evan Silva from Establish the Run. Mike Schopp here. Thanks for listening. This is WGR.
Second day in a row, big contracts have been handed out. We'll get to that here in just a moment. But today for the Buffalo Bills, rookies do report to training camp. No word yet, though, on if second-round pick TJ Sanders will be in a holdout. He, along with 29 other second-round picks, have not yet signed their rookie deals. It does appear this stems from second-rounders looking for fully guaranteed contracts. Now to the contracts that were handed out today. Chiefs and guard Trey Smith, 4 years, $94 million, $70 million of that is guaranteed. And the Jets, they make a deal for the second day in a row. Cornerback Sauce Gardner, 4-year extension, $120.4 million, $60 million guaranteed. And then, speaking of contracts, one player who has not gotten one yet, Washington wide receiver Terry McLaurin. He did speak with the media today, and on that spoke about his frustrations and the lack of communication from the organization over the past month. McLaurin is in the last year of his deal and clarified he has not yet decided if he will report to camp or not. The Sabres avoid arbitration with defenseman Bo Byram. The team did announce last night a 2-year deal, an average annual value of $6.25 million. The team also did announce today they have signed this year's first-round pick, Rodney Murka, to his 3-year entry-level deal. For more on all of that, we have pieces up at our website, WGR550.com. The MLB All-Star Game is tonight at 8, and then also going on this evening, the Bills and Sabres Foundations are hosting the 5th annual Give 716 Day, raising as much money for local charities as possible. It begins at 7:16 p.m. tonight and runs until 11:59 p.m. tomorrow, Wednesday, July 16th. Over 550 charities are participating, and all fans are encouraged to make a donation of any amount to their favorite charity or charities. You can do that by going to give2716.org between 7:16 p.m. tonight and 11:59 p.m. tomorrow, Wednesday, July 16th. It's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp
We were having a very serious conversation about mayonnaise here.
and the Bulldog
And don't even talk to me about weed.
on WGR Sports Radio 550.
Welcome back. Nice day. It gives me a lot of pride and happiness to think about the times we get Evan Silva on the show. Even though he and I have not met, I consider him a friend, if that's not weird. Especially given that I have become a partner in the ship chasing community. The people, he says, are ruining fantasy football, or has said. and yet he still takes our calls. Evan Silva from Establish the Run joining us now on the Western Hotline. Evan, how's your summer so far?
Mike Schopp, my summer has been incredible. It's it's time to get down to serious business, though. I mean, training camp is upon us, and I'm back to writing an article a day and getting all the tiers straightened out and my top 150, all where I want. And then there's going to be big changes when guys get hurt in training camp, and we see depth chart situations. But I mean, it's here. It's serious time. Playtime's over.
It is. It's a little bit ironic that before most camps have even opened, we did have a kind of a newsy week, Evan, with Najee Harris and fireworks and Kinshawn Judkins, and that's pretty ugly. Jawan Jennings even at wide receiver, so you have to be on your toes.
Absolutely, and it's only going to get more hectic. Yeah, this Najee Harris situation, I mean, I still feel like I don't exactly know what's going on. I feel like there has not been finality to that situation yet. Rappaport came out with a report, I think it was yesterday, that said he's basically, he's going to miss time to begin training camp. And, the eye seems like a part of the body that is either injured or not. It's either in bad shape or it's not in great shape. I don't want to jump to any conclusions. I hope that Najee Harris is good, but it seems like we don't have any kind of a resolution on what the deal is with Najee Harris.
Where were you on that already, with Harris getting modest money in free agency, then Omarion Hampton, that's a first-round pick. It's Jim Harbaugh, it's Greg Roman. You might want to be bullish on both guys, but it's hard to see both of them really thriving. I don't know. Were you already somewhere interesting on that backfield before this, and are you moving?
I was pretty conservative on it initially because Najee Harris is one of those guys that he's not an explosive runner, but he kind of does everything well, and he doesn't make mistakes, and he doesn't fumble, and he'll get what's blocked, and he can function in the passing game. And, you know, Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh have a long history of using multiple backs. But since this eye thing, I've become a lot more bullish on Omarion Hampton, the rookie, because I don't know. I kind of have a bad feeling about this for Najee Harris.
Okay. You know, I would say on Underdog, where I'm drafting a lot, and maybe you are, it's about a round different. But Hampton is around Breece Hall in like the late third, and then James Cook is the 4 or 5 turn, like a round later. Would you rather, at cost, would you rather have Hall or Hampton or Cook?
At this moment, I want Omarion Hampton over those guys. James Cook is close. Breece Hall, it's kind of hard to get super excited about him because one of his best attributes is that he's really good as a receiver. And in this Jets offense, like they're going to like be last in the NFL in pass attempts. Mm-hmm. You know, Justin Fields on third down, he takes sacks and he runs. So he is not like a dump off to the running back kind of quarterback, and that's really going to hurt Breece Hall. I don't know how many, you know, Justin Fields could vulture touchdowns at the goal line from Breece Hall. Like I like Breece Hall. I think he's going to have a good real life season. But in fantasy, those high value touches, those targets, those touchdowns, that could be a pretty big issue for him in this particular offense.
With Evan Silva, so Cook is a big topic here with his talking about getting, $15 million a year and what actually happens there. Camp here opens next week. I don't know, Evan, like touchdowns, I think from numbers people, I'm not putting you in a budget or in a bucket rather. We've got Leone for that. So, numbers people. You take James Cook going from 2 touchdowns rushing to 2 touchdowns rushing to 16, in consecutive seasons. I think people condescend to that. Like, there must be some regression coming for Cook. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to score 16 touchdowns in back-to-back years. And I also think that, the OC, Joe Brady, loves Ray Davis, and Ty Johnson has a role on the team, and Josh Allen, can score rushing touchdowns. We all know that. So I definitely think that there will be regression. I do like James Cook though. In the 4th round, end of the 4th round, I say pull the trigger. I think he's a fine pick there.
It is pretty amazing, Evan. We've talked over the years and often about Allen, that he is already past O.J. Simpson and Thurman Thomas in Bill's history in rushing touchdowns. I mean, for all his other talents, he's already scored more touchdowns on the ground than, anybody, like in Bill's history. So, and he's, 28? So he really is having a career here.
Yeah, I mean, he's on a Hall of Fame path. It'd be really nice to see him get a ring, and I hope that he does. But, I mean, he's on a Hall of Fame path. There is no question.
What do you think of the passing options in this offense here? Again, I'm sure we had this conversation last year, too. Just like, who is it that we want to bank on? Last year we talked about Dalton Kincaid a lot, the rookie Keon Coleman. Neither guy really delivered. What are you doing with the Bills receivers?
Yeah, kind of lukewarm on all of them. I think that they... Joe Brady will do a thing where he'll play like 4 and even 5 receivers, in a rotation. And obviously they have the multiple tight ends, with Dawson Knox isn't going away. So I'm just kind of lukewarm. I think that if any of them, I think that there's some chance that Dalton Kincaid can break out. That 3rd year for tight ends can be a really big year historically. Mm-hmm. It's just, how is he going to get to 75-80% of the playing time with Dawson Knox there? And then I think that the best opportunity for a breakout in the wide receiver core would be Keon Coleman, but I don't know if he has the separation skills to really be like a 1,100, 1,200-yard receiver. I think that would have to come via touchdowns. If he caught like 10 touchdowns, then he could really, really help you in fantasy. But, Khalil Shakir, I mean, Khalil Shakir is, a high floor, lower upside kind of guy. They just have so many options, and they spread the ball around that it's going to be hard. We want concentrated offense for our skill position players. We want concentration, and the Bills do not have that. And they like to play that way and shoot. I mean, look at how many points they scored last year. It works for them in real life. It's just not conducive to fantasy football.
Exactly. Like last year at this time, I pretty much, Evan, was, come on, no way is this going to work if you're not leaning on somebody. And then not only does this team win 13 games with Mac Hollins literally leading them in touchdown catches with 5, but the quarterback wins the MVP within that. What can you say? So my feeling, I wanted to bet on a couple of these guys last year, but I was worried for fantasy context, because the year before, what they were doing did work. Like, they were running the ball a lot, and they basically cut Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. So it was intentional, all of it, and they set a franchise record in points. So what do you do this year? I don't know. Like, I'll draft Shakir in whatever that is, like the 11th round or something like that, and maybe Elijah Moore just hoping at the end, but that's kind of it.
Yeah. There's been some buzz about Elijah Moore, I guess. I was reading some buzz about him. Former second-round pick. I mean, he's.
Yep.
What do you think about him?
I think it's tough. I don't know. I think there is potential, because I'm still in this place where I feel like even though they've won so much, there still should be more, talent coming to the surface outside, but I just don't see there having any real incentive to push that. And and it's a very small investment in Moore. So I think he probably has to really flash early to get a chance. Yeah.
And for him to be relevant from like a box score standpoint, I mean, he's just going to end up being another part of the rotation.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just what he's going to be, I think.
I think Coleman is the key man there, Evan. Like you said, maybe there's a season in there where the guy takes a leap and he becomes their number one. If not, we'll be arguing about the merits of the draft pick forever. And Kincaid, that's the same thing. I think Kincaid is kind of blocked by how they line up. And I don't know, Coleman has not impressed me yet as a player that can get there. But as we've been saying here, they might not mind that much. They might think they're okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they do.
Exactly.
You saw the way that Brandon Beane was talking about his receiver core.
Yeah.
He's defensive.
Yeah, he said it to us. That's
Oh, yeah. No, was he talking to you guys?
It was our morning show, but basically, yeah.
Nice.
He's probably had enough from WGR talking about how they haven't gotten enough good receivers in here. But,
I'm sure.
Stephon Diggs is on his record, much to his credit. And Diggs was great for the Bills. Now he's in New England off an ACL tear. And, what about this guy? Like, he's somebody that if he's healthy and New England takes that step, he could be in a great position, but it's still an if, and he's older. And so how good of a bet is Diggs? What is that, like round 6?
Yeah, I just, bet over the course of history, betting on old receivers coming off torn ACL tears, that's a losing proposition. Now, the situation is pretty good. I mean, there's not a whole lot of, star competition in New England, and I think that Drake May, he's kind of like a poor man's Josh Allen. I think that one of these years he's going to take a really big leap. I think it could happen as soon as this year. So the situation on paper looks nice. But, again, betting on aging receivers coming off torn ACL tears, that's a loss historically.
Yeah. With Evan Silva, established the run. This is Mike Schopp on WGR. So we are getting to the point on the calendar where, if you will, normal people are starting to draft. You and I could go 365, but people now that are sort of living normal lives are actually starting to ponder their fantasy drafts. What do you think about, and no offense, by the way, that's me too. What do you think about round 1 this year, Evan? Do you want to be Jamar Chase at the beginning? Do you like the running backs? I like the back of the first round with the receivers that are available there generally, or a Genty. How do you feel about the first round?
It's the best first round. I've been doing this for 20 years. It's the best first round that I can ever remember on paper.
All right.
We'll see if the results measure up to that, but it's the best first round that I can ever remember. I love every single guy that is going in the first round from pick 1 to pick 12. And I'm with you that drafting at that 12-13 turn, man, that's sexy. I mean, that's hot. Drafting at that 12-13 turn with a Brian Thomas or a Nico Collins. I think Devon Achane belongs in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a great place to draft. I also think that the draft this year is rough late. Like, I'm digging for sleepers right now. I built my most recent top 150 rankings, and like I was just kind of finding scrubs to fill out the last 25 spots in the 150. I also think that in the middle of the draft, like, I think there's a fall off at like maybe at that 4 or 5 turn, where all of a sudden you're picking guys like DJ Moore who you don't feel real comfortable with. But the first round is loaded.
Yeah, there are a few names. I'm not sure you agree on all these, but DJ Moore is one for me. Calvin Ridley is certainly one for me where, like, I don't want to be there. Judy a little bit.
Judy definitely. Yeah.
You know, just like it feels a little shaky. I like Hunter, but who knows what Travis Hunter, but who knows what that's going to be. So, but I'm with you sort of in this sentiment. What I'm tending to do is not draft Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, because I don't want to get stuck in that spot that you're describing. And, you know, that comes at a cost because those guys could break the game again. Quarterback is interesting. I'm thinking that when you get into those middle rounds, quarterbacks are the play. There are, a dozen viable options there in the middle.
That's fair. I mean, because I don't like a lot of the players that are going in the 4th and 5th round, if somehow one of those first-tier quarterbacks falls to me, I'm definitely taking them because I just feel – I mean, I know I'm going to get, 25 points a week and, with 40 ball potential every single week from those guys. I have them ranked – those quarterbacks ranked more in the 3rd round, though. So, I mean, I guess it just depends on who you're drafting with, where those guys are going to go. I also think that Patrick Mahomes, this could be, he gets back to, because their passing offense hasn't been super explosive the last few years. Defenses have defended them differently with all the cover 2, and they've had a lot of injuries. But with Rashee Rice back healthy, it sounds like he's got a clean bill of health. Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy on the outside. This is the best 3-receiver set that Patrick Mahomes has had in years, and I kind of want to be on that train this year. Betting that Patrick Mahomes can get back to that MVP level, super explosive. And apparently he's placed a big emphasis on working on his deep ball this offseason for whatever that's worth. Patrick Mahomes missed too many throws last year. Every offseason, he has one singular focus, and he's made that singular focus reigniting his deep downfield passing game, and that could be dangerous with all those guys back healthy.
That's so interesting because last year it seemed for much of the season, Evan, every week there was a highlight of a way off missed throw to Worthy deep, and everybody was like, "Well, he's a rookie, he'll learn." I'm like, "Wait, he's open." Like, what's the problem here? Why is it necessarily the receiver's fault? Because he's kind of open on all these plays. But I don't know.
And one thing to note about Xavier Worthy, man, like he was a really young rookie. He was 21 years old as a rookie, and he was thrust because of the injuries to Rashee Rice, etc. He was thrust into like a number 1 receiver role as like a raw rookie who weighed 160 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that he kind of handled himself all right, all things considered. He just turned 22. So, I mean, I don't know. The ceiling is interesting on him.
Always will be somebody in the not removed from Bills fans' minds because of the trade in the draft, where the Chiefs moved up to draft Worthy. One more, Evan. I know you're basking in the glow of having, with your daughter listening, your name mentioned on this show recently. That was
amazing.
That was a career highlight. But I think, if you don't mind, everybody listening right now might want to know where you are.
Oh, I'm like in downtown Chicago right now.
Just walking around?
Yeah, just walking around. That's what I'm just like for my radio interviews now. I'm gonna just to get steps in.
That's good.
I'm just gonna be walking. Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
I think it's great, and I hope everything is good with your health. So, thanks.
Yeah, man.
Thanks as always for fitting us in.
Thanks so much, buddy.
You're
Take it
welcome.
easy.
Bye, Evan. Evan Silva established the run, getting his work in. I mean, right? Weren't we all kind of like, where is he? Is he? What's the name of the job at the airport where you're like waving those things to wave the planes in, and planes are just sort of driving by? What is that person called?
I feel like it's just like a plane traffic person. Like it's their traffic cop on the runway.
I had no idea listening to him the whole time. Like, it's just I don't remember an interview that sounded like that before. Like, what is happening right now? Is he on the tarmac? That's a word, right? That's an actual word. Is he on the tarmac and planes? He's sort of doing this. Sorry for the radio listeners. You know, this move right here, just waving in planes, and this is heavily in favor of the viewers right now. Me doing this and not talking. Well, it turns out he's just walking around. It is the Windy City. In his defense.
In his defense,
It is the Windy City. Like, what's the least windy city? He's walking around, you just hear crickets, you just don't hear anything. I don't know. Good for Evan. He made a commitment last year toward his health. And I thought of it, I was doing the same thing last year with the Waken 180, and very cool. And yes, he was driving, I mentioned it, he was driving through, he was going to, I think to Cape Cod a couple of weeks ago, and I mentioned something that he had written or said, and he's like, dude, I'm listening right now. My daughter's listening. This is great. What a compliment. 803-0550. Okay. Paul Hamilton, Evan Silva, now maybe you. Xavier Worthy. I mentioned some Josh Allen stats I wanted to dig into. Chris Trapaso will join me at 5. Chris has been with CBS Sports for a long time. We've had him on before the draft every year, weekly. And, just checking in with him. He's off to some new things, and I want to just see what he thinks, especially with this second-round pick stuff going on. Like, you've got 2 of 32 second-round picks that have signed and 30 that have not, with camps opening. So that's interesting. Lines open for your calls at 803-0550. This is Mike Schopp on WGR.
traded in since so long. All the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night. Said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. Oh, you seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid.
Lane traffic person, like traffic cop on the runway.
I had no idea listening to him the whole time. Like, it's just I don't remember an interview that sounded like that before. Like, what is happening right now? Is he on the tarmac? That's a word, right? That's an actual word. Is he on the tarmac and planes? He's sort of doing this. Sorry for the radio listeners. You know, this move right here, just waving in planes and. This is heavily in favor of the viewers right now. Me doing this and not talking. Well, it turns out he's just walking around. It is the Windy City. In his defense.
In his defense,
It is the Windy City. Like, what pizza oven lasts worth more to me than a pizza oven we never use? Maybe almost literally anything in the store is worth more to me than the pizza oven, more than Knox, and I can't have that. We'll see about this pizza oven. I like the idea. Is Dawson Knox the Bills' pizza oven? I don't know. You could search the pizza oven. Enjoy these.
And make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over. It's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. Roller coaster. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of life. And now it's about to leave. Oh, roller coaster. Oh, roller coaster.
A number of teams have rookies reporting to training camp today, and that does include the Buffalo Bills, though no word yet on if TJ Sanders is going to be holding out, as he, along with 29 other second-round picks in this year's draft, have not yet signed their rookie deals. Second-rounders this year appear to be looking for fully guaranteed contracts. We'll keep you posted on anything surrounding that. But speaking of deals, we got multiple big ones today in the NFL. Chiefs end guard Trey Smith agree on a 4-year, $94 million contract. $70 million of that is guaranteed, while the Jets, they get their second deal done in as many days. Cornerback Sauce Gardner, 4-year extension, $120.4 million, $60 million of that is guaranteed. He is now the highest paid corner in league history. Sabres board arbitration with defenseman Bo Byram. The team did announce that last night, a 2-year deal with an average annual value of $6.25 million. The team also announced today that they have signed this year's first-round pick, Roddy Merca, to his 3-year entry-level deal. And then coming up later tonight, the Home Run Derby was last night, and tonight it will be the MLB All-Star Game, and it will begin at 8 p.m. That's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
The front office, the ownership, they have to do what's best for the team. I understand that, but I also know what I bring to a team. And I feel like I've proven that day in, day out. There hasn't been anything that they've asked me to do since they've been here that I have not done willingly, openly. That's what I'm supposed to do as a leader. But you would think when that is displayed consistently over years of time, then that would be, honored and respected. And so, again, the toughest thing is just having to be in this limbo. But I haven't stopped working. I work my tail off, and no dollar amount is going to change that. No dollar amount is going to make me work harder. That's not how I'm built.
Time's up. That is Washington Commanders receiver Terry McLaurin. We are in that time of year where a handful of players make a situation out of their contracts. Here's another guy with a contract, just like James Cook. We talked a lot about him yesterday. Appreciated the many calls I got about Cook. We're ready to find out, aren't we? What happens there, if anything. So, yeah, like what? Do we have an inordinate number of players this year who are in these kind of more public contract disputes? I don't know. Maybe not. The one thing that's different this year is the second-round pick thing. And that will be interesting to watch going forward. I don't have the strongest take on this, but in these kind of things where, what do we have? We have 32 second-round picks, and 2, it's a Texans receiver, Higgins, and the Browns linebacker. The Browns also had an early second-round pick where they picked Quinshon Judkins, but it isn't Judkins. It's a linebacker, and then it's this Texans receiver as well. They also had 2 second-round. Well, maybe not. When was Jalen Noel picked? Maybe the 3rd round? Anyway, 2 guys, as you may know, had their contracts fully guaranteed. And the rest of the league does not want to capitulate to that. And so nobody is signed. And the players are probably why can't we get that? And I don't have the strongest take, but I like taking the players' side in these, in football at least, because the contracts are not guaranteed. Well, that's the point here, is that the 2 guys who signed, their contracts are guaranteed. First-round picks. But here, no. The NFL does not want to have to guarantee all the money to second-round picks. Some of it is just because that's owners. And some of it is because maybe it's a little bit reasonable that not all these guys will deserve to make their teams. They almost always do. But it's not always because the player has demonstrated they should. It's just because it's already a second-round pick investment. So I tend to think with this that the teams should, give up the money, make the guarantees, and get these guys in. I wonder what will break it. I mean, it's 30 players, and second-round picks, while they're not first-round picks, they're important. TJ Sanders, I think, is important to the Bills for this season. And, he's actually not that late, right? They traded up for him. So I think he's important. And are the Bills going to, really? Are the Bills going to be a team? See, I got to explain that. Are the Bills going to be a team that moves front of the line to guarantee money to the second-round pick? The Bills have deserved and gotten a lot of credit for their ability to get contracts done. We've had this conversation many times on the sort of on the side of the James Cook conversation. One reason why it might be worth discussing, notable, that Cook isn't done yet is because it's unusual for the Bills. Even this offseason, Bernard and Benford, they got those deals done and not Cook. So they're a team that's established that they will work with you and they want to extend their good players. And I don't think Cook really is not one of them, Sorry for the double negative, but I feel like it's notable that he isn't signed like this. But the difference in the other thing, the second-round pick thing, I think it's that it's owners and it's the league. When it's owners, it's the league. We just had the collusion stuff a couple of weeks ago, and what happens in situations like this, I think the owners are standing on principle. It's not about whether they think Christian Benford is an elite cornerback. It's that, well, we don't want to be a part of breaking this unwritten rule that second-round picks don't get their contracts fully guaranteed. Terry Pegula, to me, seems like the farthest thing from an owner that would want to do that. Like, just sort of step out. Like, all right, well, I'll pay you this. He's in the club. He is so in the club. I don't know. I think somebody else, other owners are going to have to move first. That would be my guess. If it ends up that these players get guaranteed money. I mean, if some of these guys start to sign for the traditional second-round pick contract, then, the Bills will fall in line and be happy about it. But I do not see Pegula as, okay, no biggie. Here's your guaranteed money. You're probably worth it. We traded up for you. All the reasons why you would say it about the player, but not want to do it because it's breaking precedent here in this second-round pick context. So we'll see what happens there, but something's going to have to move on that because most of these owners are the same, and they will want no part of establishing a new precedent where second-round picks should expect guaranteed contracts. But two of them have gotten it, and I'm sure the rest of the owners are pretty displeased about that. There was another big Jets signing today with Sauce Gardner signing another extension, or I say another, Garrett Wilson yesterday, so another for the Jets for top money, new highest paid cornerback in the NFL. I don't know. I don't really feel like I need to be cynical about these, but it's funny a little bit when the Jets, for one team, like they're kind of a hilarious team, where they're signing the kind of contracts that really everybody would love in the middle of July, in the middle of the day on a weekday in July, where like it's a little bit newsy, but it's just really the dead zone. It's almost like doing it on a Friday any time of year where people are really not paying attention. It's never that with the NFL. I mean, people are watching and listening, but it's a little bit like Jets. I mean, let's talk about this first. If you wanted to sign Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner to record contracts or near record contracts, let's make it sing. Let's do it, when people are not comatose because it's so hot and they're not thinking about football for the 1 week of the year that they're not. Like, come on, Jets. Let's make it work a little bit better for you next time. Evan Silva was interesting on Xavier Worthy. You heard my point if you were listening to that conversation. It was odd last year with the Chiefs that Patrick Mahomes and Worthy were having for a while such a tough time clicking. And any rookie can be an adjustment for a quarterback, or just like the route's a little bit different. I can't even imagine how fine the details have to be on these kind of downfield passes. The footwork and the precision that the receiver uses to get to the spot where the quarterback can then expect them to be and put the ball there. I mean, the precision just really kind of blows my mind. But last year with this team, for much of the season, you would see a highlight, almost it seemed like every week, where Mahomes would go deep for Worthy and the pass was like 3 yards out of bounds or just not even close. And, why is that happening? It's hard to sort of assume Mahomes is at fault or Allen when it's him. Allen and Kincaid last year was a little bit this. Like, why are they so far off? I think, and I'm not, of course, the person to tell you. I feel like somebody with experience at this could really speak interestingly to this. Like the precision of the footwork and the timing, and the ball needs to be, you need to be right here because this is where the ball is going to be. Can you get there? Then you have the point of separation where the Bills struggled last year getting open. They have to, this is Kincaid, I mean, maybe quintessentially on that team, being able to separate, beat press coverage against a bigger a linebacker even, or a safety, whoever it is, and so he can get to that spot. That might really be the big one when it comes to the point Brandon Beane made about strength for Kincaid. Like, can he win on the line of scrimmage against press coverage so that he can be in this little circle right here for Josh Allen to hit him? That was not good last year. And this is what Mahomes and Worthy looked like. I mean, very different player. But this is what that looked like for much of the season. By the end, we saw it in the AFC Championship, and even in the Super Bowl, they did not have this problem. Worthy, I mean, damn, what did he go for in that game against the Bills? Just to rub it in. A rookie that had struggled to produce all season, much like their offense. Then, of course, the Bills show up in the playoffs, and it's whatever you want. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster was getting off against the Bills in that game. It's just trolling at this point with Kansas City. 803-0550. Chris Trapaso will join me in about 20 minutes. We'll talk about the Bills draft and even maybe a little bit around the league, of course, but also what next year looks like. Why not? Chris will know. This is Mike Schopp on WGR. Welcome back. Today is July 15th. Happy birthday to my daughter, loyal listener, turning 14 today. Yeah, I think that's probably not correct. It is her birthday. That part's right. Tomorrow is then July 16th, 716. The Bills and Sabres Foundations hosting their 5th annual Give 716 Day, raising as much money as possible for local charities. That begins at 7:16 tonight and runs through midnight tomorrow. More than 550 charities are participating. All fans are encouraged to make a donation to their favorite charity or charities at give716.org between 7:16 tonight and midnight tomorrow. So you'll hear a lot about that during the day tomorrow in here. You'll also hear a little bit about the Open Championship. If you play golf, which, by the way, that's how you say it. You don't golf, you play golf, all right? If you play golf, does your golf course have names for its holes? Because I think it should. I think if it doesn't, let's get to work on that out there. How many golf courses in Western New York have names for their golf holes? Like, what percent? 10%? We gotta attack this. Just to give your course a little bit more personality. This tournament this week has got it right. What is it? Royal Fort Rush or something like that in Northern Ireland. That's not Port Rush. That might be it. Northern Ireland, whatever it is. I mean, the golf course has a name, which I'm not sure of, but the holes have names. Number 13. All right. Picture what kind of hole this should be by its name. Featherbed. I feel like I could birdie Featherbed, right? I mean, Featherbed? That can't be too tough. What's the fescue like? The heather. Is there a burn in my way on Featherbed? I mean, it seems like just an easy one. Featherbed. Love it. 15, I don't know what to do with 15. The hole's name is Scaries. But not like scary, S-C-A-R-Y. Scaries, S-K-E-R-R-I-E-S. I don't know. Is that a food in the UK? Like, is that a delicacy? What is Scaries? I'm taking it by the spelling to be like, all right, I'm not too worried. Like, this hole should not eat me alive. 16, however, it gets pretty serious. Calamity Corner. All right, well, now we have a problem. Right by the name, I'm in trouble. You walk up there, is there a sign? There's probably a sign with the number 16, but is there a sign that says Calamity Corner? Yikes. I don't want any part of that. Then it's got to get better after that, right? 17, Purgatory. Oh, no. Here I am working on a career best, a personal best, passing through Featherbed and Scaries like it's nothing. Completely, the course is defenseless. And then I get to Calamity Corner. I did not know this was waiting for me. And then Purgatory. Oh, no. This is bad. You know, I make a couple of doubles there. And then we get to 18, and what's going to happen? Is 18 going to be hell is the name of the 18th hole at this golf course, literally hell? Where do you go from Purgatory? I mean, you go up or down. And it's 18, and this is a major. This is a major. You go to 18, and you're leaving Purgatory, and this could be bad. The name of the 18th hole at this golf course is Babington's.
They had to have had different people name these.
Like
you draw out of a hat, you're like, you get this hole now.
Babington's, I don't even know. Did they sell that? I mean, what an opportunity there to go from Calamity Corner to Purgatory to Babington's. Is Babington's? Is that a beer? Is that an ale? What is there's Boddington's. Is there Babington's? There is the apostrophe S. It's not like a plural thing out there. Do you have your Babington with you? It's not like that. It's Babington's, like possessive. So I think this course gives you something. I feel like this is going to be a golf course where people are going to say on TV, you can score here. But Calamity Corner and Purgatory are right over there, and if you don't take advantage of the Featherbed and the Scaries and the Babingtons, well, look out. Brian Koziol will join us tomorrow. Bulldog will call in with his picks, the Pick 10 that we do every major, always fun. Back to football next. Chris Trapaso joins me, Mike Schopp, here on WGR.
Buffalo Bills rookies reported to training camp today, with camp officially getting underway 1 week from tomorrow. But some news from there. Edge rusher Landon Jackson has been placed on the physically unable to perform list. Now, since he was placed on this during training camp, he can come off the list at any point during camp once he passes a physical. He does not have to miss those first 4 games, but he will count towards the 90-man roster. No word yet on if TJ Sanders is going to be holding out. He, along with 29 other second-round picks, have not signed their rookie deals, as the second-round picks this year look to get fully guaranteed contracts. We'll keep you posted on that if anything else comes down the line. Multiple big deals, though, today. The Chiefs and guard Trey Smith, they have agreed on a 4-year, $94 million contract. $70 million of that is guaranteed, while the Jets, they get their second deal done in as many days. Cornerback Sauce Gardner, 4-year extension, $120.4 million, $60 million of that is guaranteed. The Sabres did avoid arbitration with Bo Byram. The team announced a 2-year deal with an average annual value of $6.25 million. And then earlier today, they also announced the signing of this year's first-round pick, Rodney Murka, to his 3-year entry-level contract. The MLB All-Star Game is tonight at 8. Yesterday was the Home Run Derby. And then also tonight, the Bills and Sabres Foundations are hosting the 5th annual Give 716 Day, raising as much money for local charities as possible. It will begin at 7:16 p.m. tonight and running to 11:59 p.m. Wednesday, July 16th. Over 550 charities are participating. All fans are encouraged to make a donation of any amount to their favorite charity or charities, and you can do so by going to give716.org between, again, 7:16 p.m. tonight and 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday, July 16th. It's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
They have this Panther sound effect that is just the cheesiest, stupidest sounding thing. Big voice guy going, Panther goal scored by Sam Reinhart. Where'd you get that thing?
I trapped it. Been keeping it in my bathroom at the motel, feeding it old pizza.
It's Mike Schopp.
If you're calm, that wondrous big cat will be calm too. But if you're scared, that beautiful death machine will do what God made it to do. Namely, eat you with a smile on its face.
And the Bulldog. On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Exciting. We spend so much time talking about the draft, the NFL draft, and then it ends, and we give it like a couple of days, and then that's pretty much it. The players are theirs, yours. It's just onward. Maxwell, Hairston, TJ Sanders, and so on in the Bills' case this year. But it's still fun to look at drafts, even from a long time ago, and, talk about what ifs. And here at this point in time on the calendar, we still don't know anything about this year's guys, except right now we do know that there's a really interesting situation with most of the second rounders. Our guest weekly leading up to the draft, Chris Trapaso, then of CBS Sports. Chris, I thought it would be fun to reconnect with you and try to figure out where certain players are headed, what things look like here. Almost 3 months since the draft is over, right? Late April.
Yeah, absolutely. This is good getting back on with training camp, like a week away for a lot of teams, including the Bills. So it's good to reconnect and get ready for football.
So thank you for that. In the Bills' case, Maxwell Hairston, late first round. They have Trey White here, and this is probably the most interesting battle, if you will, on the roster this year. The Bills, again, don't have a lot of starting spots available, and this is their first-round pick. How do you see that? Thinking of what you know of Hairston as a prospect. I know he was super athletic, but not everybody's in love with the player.
I actually really liked him. I didn't think that with what we found out after the draft, with the civil lawsuit that's happening, I thought the Bills would stay away from him just for that reason, given what happened with the punter a few years ago. But what Brandon Beane spoke to after the fact that he was cleared by the NFL, they did their own investigation. Hairston was at the Combine, which he would not have been allowed to be if there was an impending case hanging over his head, and certainly at the draft where he was dapping up everyone on their way to meeting Roger Goodell when they were picked. That made a lot of sense. he was my, I believe, number 17 overall player, and then the Bills picked him at 30, so I gave the grade an A. I thought it was the exact type of player that this secondary needed, and I feel like in those lead-up interviews before the draft, that's the two things that I thought the Bills needed to do. I mean, not necessarily with those first two picks, but two of the things that they needed to do was get higher ceiling at the cornerback spot, and you get that with the twitchiness of Maxwell Hairston, the 4.28 speed, the 5 interceptions in 2023 when he was healthy, and another high-caliber interior rusher next to Ed Oliver. I mean, we were all infatuated with the size of Kenneth Grant and a few of the other guys at defensive tackle, but TJ Sanders, whenever he ultimately signs and this domino effect happens with the second round and they get him in training camp, preseason, regular season, they have another elite-level athlete who can generate consistent pocket push and generate 40, 50, 60 pressures on the inside to help out Ed Oliver.
How do you feel about like Hairston in his case as a week one starter? Like what should that look like this summer? Training camp, preseason. Trey White is at the very other end of the spectrum here, like pretty much the end of his career. Would you think like he would be the default starter and Hairston would have to outplay him for whatever that means in the summer, or would it probably, or should it probably work the other way around?
I think it should work the other way around. And not that the Bills need to do a total philosophical shift in their secondary because the turnovers, the limiting big plays during the Sean McDermott era, you can, be the biggest nitpicker about specific things that have happened in the playoffs with Sean McDermott's defenses. But the one thing that's certainly been true is in the regular season, they are one of the best defenses in the league in almost every category, even if the pass rush has not been good. But I do think that the Levi Wallaces, the Dane Jacksons, and they did bring him back as well, even Trey White, and I spoke to this pre-draft too, that Trey White in 2017, he didn't test through the roof. He didn't run 4.28. He didn't have a 41-inch vertical. It was Marshawn Lattimore in that draft class that was the freaky athlete. I think now is the time to say, you know what, maybe we will, opposite our star in Christian Benford, who we just paid, maybe there will be a few plays that are hit over the top, but we're going to get more splash plays via tip passes, pass breakups, and interceptions. And I think you can get those with Maxwell Hairston. I think at this point, given his age, Tre'Davious White would have to have a clearly, discernibly better training camp, and maybe even some preseason reps better than Maxwell Hairston for him to actually be the week one starter on that Sunday night against the Baltimore Ravens. Right.
Chris Trapaso on the Wester Hotline. I'm Mike Schopp. Bulldog is off today. This second round thing is interesting, isn't it?
Weird.
Yeah, like the top two picks of the second round right away got guaranteed contracts, which is really, unprecedented. Yeah. And the next 30 have all yet to sign. How does this break?
I don't know. I think as anything usually does when it comes to holdouts, it's just once the practices and I don't want to say once the games start, but usually when you see a player, a veteran who's holding out, they don't want to lose those game checks, so they ultimately end the holdout. They sign the contract or the franchise tag. I think over the next week, we could see, like I said, that domino effect. What I thought was kind of funny about this is that at first I thought this was another scenario of the Browns kind of screwing over the rest of the league in terms of giving a fully guaranteed contract, but it was actually the Houston Texans a day before signing Jaden Higgins, the 34th pick, to a fully guaranteed deal. The Browns had a chance to say, hey, look, we're not going to do that with their 33rd overall pick, Carson Schwarzenegger, the linebacker. But they said, hey, we're going to follow suit. We're going to give him a fully guaranteed contract as well. So the Browns had a chance to not kind of financially screw over all the other owners like they did with the Deshaun Watson deal. And it's kind of funny how that's come to a head with everything that we know about the NFLPA and all that over the last couple of weeks. But I think just with training camp coming, I don't know if we'll see all 30 who have yet to sign in a matter of hours one day, but I think we will start to see some of the players telling their agents, look, I need to get on the field. I don't want to start way behind the 8 ball as a rookie in the NFL.
Right, and while it would be nice, to put it mildly, for guys like TJ Sanders with the Bills to have a fully guaranteed contract, we've never had that before. I doubt Sanders or any of these other guys expected it. when they went from Thursday to Friday at the draft. I mean, that's probably a pretty big, maybe the biggest reason to want to be picked in the first round. I don't ever think about this, but if you slip out of the first round, then you're looking at less than a guaranteed contract almost always. And in the Browns case, by the way, they picked running back Quinshon Judkins at pick 36. So they could have, I don't know, pretty easily done this with both of their guys, but they decided to just pick one.
I know. It's just all that doesn't make sense to me with how the Browns really philosophically went through their draft. And then to do that, and then even to go to the Texans, the team that really started this kind of stalemate that we have across the league. I don't understand why. I mean, it's not like Jaden Higgins was everyone thought he was going to be a first rounder, but it was like a Miles Jack situation where he fell out of the first round because of an injury or something off the field.
Right.
Everyone kind of felt like Jaden Higgins, probably a second or third round pick, decent receiver prospect. I don't know why they did that. I don't know what power the agent had over the Texans organization. Whatever happened, it's kind of weird that ultimately was what the Texans decided to do. Now, that's certainly a team that feels like they're on the cusp. They have, they're going into year 3 with C.J. Stroud. They had to revamp the offensive line and the receiver group, so that's why they picked Higgins as early as they did. But it is kind of strange, especially, these owners are not really that willing to shell out fully guaranteed contracts for even veteran established quarterbacks, much less unproven rookies that are not playing the game's most important position.
Yeah. Bill's third-round pick, Landon Jackson, by the way, it was reported today, will start on the PUP list. So it'll be a while before we see him?
Yeah, I mean, he can come off at any point, so it's not like he's missing the first 4 games of the regular season automatically. For as much, I mean, I guess you could say this about any rookie, but for me, in scouting Landon Jackson, the light started to come on for him last season at Arkansas, especially down the stretch, but he is still reasonably raw. So I would say that the longer he goes into camp, for whatever reason that he's on PUP, it will be pretty detrimental to him making a big impact in year 1. I mean, we even saw it last year with Cole Bishop, and I thought in terms of, different position, but at safety, I was not enamored with him as a prospect. I didn't have him, with a first-round grade, but I was enamored with the fact that he played so many different roles at Utah, thought he could actually come in and earn that starting job at safety right away. Now, again, different roles, a lot more responsibilities there than a defensive end, but him getting hurt early in training camp, Sean McDermott spoke to it and said that really put him way behind the 8 ball and was the reason that we almost didn't see him until the end of the season. So I hope that's not the case for Landon Jackson, who has a lot of promise with the explosiveness, with the length that he has, and the fact that a few years ago he looked like he was just this huge athlete on the field, and by his last season at Arkansas started to kind of make some strides in terms of his development. He needs to be on the field and getting coaching from NFL coaches along that defensive line.
Very good. Chris Trapaso, my guest. Mike Schopp here. Bulldog is off today. This is WGR. So the macro stuff on this draft, at least in terms of offense, quarterback, Cam Ward at 1. You get Jackson Dart down in pick 20 or whatever that was by the Giants, something like that, 25.
25.
And then Tyler Shugg might be a starter for New Orleans week 1, kind of out of nowhere. We didn't talk about him.
No.
Maybe at all. Starting with Ward, do you see the potential for him to really hit it? Could he be somebody that mostly we've been sleeping on when it comes to an early quarterback pick?
I wish I could say yes. That would be exciting. I didn't hate Cam Ward as a prospect, but I felt like in any other draft class, I think I wrote an article in March about where he would have ranked over the last 2 years, and I'm pretty sure that we talked about this pre-draft, that I would have had him 6 out of 8, and I would have had Shadur Sanders 8 out of 8. I mean, we kind of saw where Sanders ultimately fell. Maybe there was some off-field stuff with him too, but that these were just not big-time prospects. And for as much as I understood, I heard Kyle Brandt say, hey, this is crazy. This guy's the number 1 overall pick. We need to be talking about him more. I think there was a reason for that, because he was not Caleb Williams or a Trevor Lawrence or a Joe Burrow or a Kyler Murray type prospect. And the reason why I don't think that he can be that transcendent guy right away and be a C.J. Stroud in year one, or a Justin Herbert, or even a Baker Mayfield. The Titans roster is pretty bad. Like, it is still, I mean, Calvin Ridley, Tyler Lockett, and Van Jefferson are their top two or their top three wide receivers. The offensive line I don't think is very good, and the defense has a long way to go. So I think he could make some plays here and there. I think there will be games where you'll start to see those flashes. And their GM was in Kansas City for a long time, and obviously was, had a front row seat to winning multiple Super Bowls and how to build a team in the modern era. So maybe by year 2 or year 3, we're like, hey, this guy is kind of a better version of Bryce Young, so to speak. But I think in year 1, it's going to be pretty rough sledding for someone that doesn't have a big arm. He's not a supreme athlete. And at times, I think he trusts his arm and trusts his athleticism a little bit too much.
He has come off, I think, pretty confident so far since he's been in Tennessee. But we'll see what it is. Jackson Dart with the Giants, Chris, at pick 25. Their schedule is so hard that it makes me wonder if we might not see him pretty early. Like if they get to a 1-5 or something like that. I don't know. I mean, they've got some good players, the Giants, but if a really hard schedule, if they're to start, in a hole, I think maybe we get him before Halloween.
Yeah, especially considering Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen have to be. I mean, maybe there's another coach that I'm not thinking of, but they have to be on the hot seat more than any other duo in terms of head coach and GM in the NFL. So they need to win games. If they're 1-4 and Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson are not cutting it, I think it would make all the sense in the world to get the young quarterback to at least be able to sell to ownership. Like, hey, look, we have something here. We have Malik Neighbors. We've added a lot of pieces on defense. We have Dexter Lawrence. We have Brian Burns. We just drafted Abdul Carter. Give us a little bit more time with this young quarterback. And I could see, not that it's the same in terms of talent level with Jackson Dart comparing him to Josh Allen, but there's mobility, there's some off-platform stuff that I could see Brian Daboll kind of going back to his Bills playbooks from 2018 to 2022 and saying, hey, let's utilize Dart in some of the same ways or some of the same concepts that we did with Josh Allen in Buffalo that kind of help him develop from somewhat of a raw quarterback into an absolute superstar.
They did make the trade to get Dart. Do they really need Winston and Russell Wilson? Why?
No.
They really just don't need both guys. I wonder if they're just waiting for an injury somewhere. The odds really might not be great, but I'd like to see.
Yeah, I know. It's good to bring that up because I think at this point, a week away from the draft, or from training camp, I should say, it's easy to look at rosters and think, oh, yeah, this veteran, that veteran, they're all going to make the team, when we know even for the Bills, the Bills have been very active in mid to late August trading veterans to get, a 5th or 6th rounder the next year, or guys that we feel confident in making the team ultimately don't. I could see that being a situation where it ultimately is just Russell Wilson and Jackson Dart, or Jameis Winston and Jackson Dart as the quarterbacks on that roster when the regular season starts.
Right. Yeah, the Bills, even at quarterback, have done that with A.J. McCarron a few years ago.
Yeah.
Did you have any sort of interest in Tyler Shugg as a prospect?
No, not really. I thought he was somewhat we've talked about this a lot, and that I am a big age proponent, and I know that the league is, with Michael Penix and Bo Nix last year that were older players, they played so much football, and it's almost maybe flipped for quarterback that the NFL wants you to be 23 or 24. Tyler Shugg was the backup for Justin Herbert at Oregon, and he's just coming into the NFL. And for as much as, that's true. For as much as the size and the arm strength are certainly NFL caliber, and I thought were certainly draftable, wild sidearm throws into coverage. Sometimes they get through, sometimes they don't. And I just can never get it out of my mind that, he was a 25-year-old playing against 18, 19, 20, 21, 22-year-olds. Now, of course, there were more older players at the collegiate level last year because of the COVID year. It was kind of the last year that we'll see that. But I just feel like he looked better and was elevated because of his age and the fact that this quarterback class was just not very good. So for him to go as early as he did, to me, I think it was just the Saints acting out of desperation, maybe knowing that Derek Carr was going to be retiring, more so than, this was a top 50 overall player in this draft class.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Well, running backs, last thing for you, Chris. Mm-hmm. So I'm drafting all the time in fantasy, and we're always hoping for these late-round dart throws to pay off. Last year, we got it with Bucky Irving, a little bit with Tyrone Tracy. Yeah.
Yes.
This year, there are like 10 of those guys, maybe more. I don't know. I mean, every draft I'm in, I get to a point where Jarquez Hunter, Brashard Smith, Jordan James. One of these guys is sort of always calling my name. Is there somebody like that, like a day 3 pick, even past like Scadaboo, and there was one other guy up there with him in the 4th round? Is there somebody like that you think is primed to really hit?
Well, you named a few. I mean, Jarquez Hunter, to me, with the Rams, ironically, I compared him to Kyron Williams before the draft. I think he's that low, stocky, no-nonsense runner that's going to hit the holes. He's not going to try to dance too much. He averaged over 5 yards a carry in all 4 seasons at Auburn. Didn't get an insane workload where he's going to be worn down. But I think in that Sean McVay system, now certainly Kyron Williams is the guy, and he's going to go early in fantasy drafts. But Jarquez Hunter, if there's an injury, I think he can pick up right where Kyron Williams leaves off in terms of a lot of carries near the goal line and just a lot of production in what is a time-tested scheme. A few others that I'll give you that are way deep. Mm-hmm. Corey Kiner from Cincinnati, who was undrafted and went to the San Francisco 49ers. Kyle Shanahan is the ultimate just run game efficiency producer. And Christian McCaffrey, I know he's deemed to be fully healthy, but he's had a lot of injuries in his career, and he's not super young anymore. I like Corey Kiner as maybe that Jeff Wilson type player, or even Elijah Mitchell type that in a pinch, 3, 4, 5 games can win you some fantasy games. And then one other, he was a 7th round pick, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, Washington Commanders. Such a weird story that he's at New Mexico 2 years ago, was outstanding, well over 1,000 yards, super efficient. He's big, goes to Arizona, plays one game and averages 8 yards a carry. Now, it's with the Pac-12 or the Big 12 that they're in now. Not a lot of defense, but averaged over 8 yards per carry, and then was ruled I think academically ineligible or something by the NCAA. Could not play any more games last season. Goes to the pro day, jumps over 40 inches, runs sub 4.5. He looks the part of I don't want to say a modern day feature back, but over 6 foot, over 215 pounds, explosive, cutting skills are certainly there at New Mexico. And in that one game at Arizona was really good in terms of his missed tackle force rate. So as much as Brian Robinson is good, Austin Eckler's there, but now getting up there in age, I could see him being a little bit of an underrated run game feature in Washington, with everyone kind of focused on Jaden Daniels in year 2.
Well, you certainly stumped me on Corey Kiner, but Ja'Cory Krosky,
he was really, really good.
That's a great name. It's exactly what I love from you. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, I keep hearing the same thing from everybody. If he makes the team, watch out.
Yes, absolutely.
He's a 7th round pick. Those guys don't have to make the team, but if he makes the team, watch out. So I'm with you on him. Thank you, Chris.
Hey, can I throw one more in?
Please.
Not a rookie. I just wrote about him at my Substack trap sheet this week. Jordan Mason, Minnesota Vikings. I just thought of him because of the 49ers thing. I know that Jordan Mason. You're in a million fantasy leagues.
Yeah.
I think he's going to ultimately lead the Vikings in carries and rushing yards and touchdowns. I think Aaron Jones at 31, still a good player, went over 1,000, I think 1,100 yards last year. But I think Jordan Mason, that was just kind of this underrated trade that happened in mid-March, right when free agency was going on. No one really paid too much attention to it. But you remember, before Christian McCaffrey got hurt and actually Jordan Mason got hurt, both in the same game against the Bills, Jordan Mason was one of the best running backs in the NFL. And I think with a Kevin O'Connell-based offense that has those Kyle Shanahan roots, I think Jordan Mason can be probably a mid to late round steal at the running back spot in any fantasy draft.
Love it. Not a rookie, we should point out, as you said, but good name. Where do we find you now? Substack?
So, yeah, I just, for the time being, as I'm awaiting what my next job is going to be in this industry, hopefully, I just made my own Substack. It's called Trap Sheet. You can find it on Twitter. I wrote like 6 or 7 articles. I'm trying to do like 1 to 3 a week, and I'll probably ramp up to a little bit more than that as the regular season starts.
Very good. Nice to talk to you again, Chris. Thank you.
Mike, thanks.
You're welcome. Chris Trapaso on the West Her hotline. Corey Kiner. This guy, I'd never heard of him. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm in there every day looking for, selfishly, hope you don't mind my asking him, but that's a name, Jordan James, all the time with San Francisco. But the thing with, you got to respect it because the Niners can put anybody back there and they'll be good. It's that kind of team. Kyle Shanahan, Christian McCaffrey's great. He goes out, the next guy's going to be great too. Mitchell, Mason, Garendo, Jordan James, maybe also Corey Kiner. Late for a break. We will be back after the update. Join me at 803-0550. This is Mike Schopp on WGR.
NFL rookies beginning to report to training camp today for a number of teams, including the Buffalo Bills, and some news on that front. Bills' third-round pick, Landon Jackson, is being placed on the PUP list just about a week before camp begins. Camp will begin next Wednesday. But with it being in training camp, Jackson can come off the physically unable to perform list at any time during camp once he passes a physical and is going to count towards the 90-man roster. The other storyline to keep an eye on is TJ Sanders, though no word yet on if he will be holding out, as he, along with 29 other second-round picks, have yet to sign their rookie deals, with many of this year's second round looking for fully guaranteed contracts. On contracts, we did have multiple big signings today in the NFL. Chiefs and guard Trey Smith, 4-year, $94 million deal. $70 million of that is guaranteed, while the Jets, they get their second deal done in as many days. Cornerback Sauce Gardner, 4-year extension, $120.4 million. $60 million of that is guaranteed. The Sabres did avoid arbitration with defenseman Bo Byram. The team announced a 2-year deal, average annual value $6.25 million. And then earlier today, the team also announced they have signed this year's first-round pick, Rodney Merca, to his 3-year entry-level deal. And then coming up later tonight, the MLB All-Star Game. The Home Run Derby was last night. Tonight at 8, it is the All-Star Game. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet is celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Oh, sorry. I'm still basking in that Chris Trapaso named a guy I'd never heard of. Not to give myself too much credit, but I mean I'm in there every day looking for these drafts. Right, what you do or you can do, you get to that last round, and you don't really have to care who the running back is, who the player is. Just like when he was drafted, I mean, if he was drafted on first 2 days, he's not sitting there probably in the last round. It's a matter of who have you drafted already? And is there somebody that either plays for the team you've been drafting the most, or even not, I don't want to go all into it, but plays against the team you've been drafting the most at the end of the season, week 17, really. Like, that's what you're trying to find. So I'm looking for anybody. I've drafted all these. Ja'Cory, Krosky, Merritt, we're like best friends. I mean, that's a pretty obscure name, but I knew the story about what happened in his college career, and like I told Chris, a lot of times I've heard the same point, which is, again, like if he makes the Commanders, look out, because he's super talented. That was this year at running back in the draft, and I really, for at least talk show purposes, TSPs, wish the Bills had picked one of these guys just so we could play with it. Anyway, Corey Kiner, I had to look it up. I went into the Ship Chasing Discord. I'm like, you guys, just so you know, Trapaso mentioned this name. And I'm getting some responses to that. One being, there is a very, very, very small but vocal Kiner hive. Love that. Kiner was the film bro darling sleeper during draft season. And, San Francisco people are making that point too, how if he gets on the field, look out. All right. 803-0550 if you want to call in. Just saw that the Atlanta Falcons have announced, this is uniform week, I guess, around the NFL. Throwback uniforms and tweaks and different things. Nothing from the Bills as far as I know, except fans coming up with ideas. Atlanta is going to wear red helmets for their game against the Bills. It's a Monday night game in week 6. And it's almost unwatchable if they don't. The difference, the Bills can do either thing with their helmets. Whatever. They look great. The uniforms are great. They're classic. Red helmets, white helmets, do what you think is right. They still look great. The Falcons go from kind of horrible to cool by switching from black helmets to red helmets, I think. Black helmets, black jerseys, just don't waste my time. But the Reds are sharp. So now you'll want to watch the Bills play Atlanta on Monday Night Football in Week 6 because the be wearing their reds. The Falcons will be wearing their reds. The Bills will not be. That'll be a sharp-looking game now. I'm big on the combination. The two teams together. What do they look like together? Because, like Kansas City, I think that's a great uniform, especially the whites. But even the Chiefs in red, that visual at Arrowhead Stadium, Kansas City in its home red jerseys and helmets, it always looks good. When they play the Bengals, and the Bengals walk in with orange and stripes, and just it's very clashy. So you take what should be a good game to watch and make it brutal by putting red next to orange. I mean, just never do that. Chiefs and Raiders is great. Chiefs and Broncos can be terrible. Bengals, get out of here. Bengals don't really look good against anybody, playing against anybody. So there are some great combinations. And that Bills-Falcons game will look pretty good with the Falcons in red. What is going to happen to Kirk Cousins? Is he just, like I mentioned, we mentioned in the conversation with Chris Trapaso, Jameis Winston, who, like Cousins, does not have to be an NFL starter at this point. Doesn't have to be, could be. We're at a point in the league, this will be fun to talk about maybe tomorrow or something, how so many teams are either all set at quarterback, like ours, or they think they might be. They're not at a point, like the Bears, they're not at a point where they're thinking about a change. They just don't really know yet what they have. There are half dozen or more teams like that. A lot of teams are good. The guy's Prescott in Dallas, somebody that's not on the most elite tier, but he's got the contract. There's no question about it. Somebody like that. There's just no question about it. Justin Herbert. A lot of, even Purdy now is this. Bo Nix, playoff quarterback first year. Good numbers. He's in. Probably he's just like in. This is a lot of teams. There are a few that are nowhere. And it's been an offseason where only a few of those teams wanted to bother to look up somebody new. The Giants did. What the Giants did is sign Winston and then I think Russell Wilson. I think that was the order. And then they drafted Jackson Dart in a trade-up in round 1. Like, they just made sure. And really, they don't need all three of them. And they're going to keep Jackson Dart, and they're probably going to keep Russell Wilson. So they really don't need Winston. And Cousins was kind of left out. Like, that could have been Pittsburgh or Cleveland. He was owed, I think it was, $10 million on a certain date. And then the Falcons just ate that. And maybe they were going to trade him after that, and then that still hasn't happened. So I don't know what happens there. Like, maybe he doesn't need to start either. But he's somebody that, has played a long time and is probably an upgrade for how many teams? 5, 6, 7, 8 teams, maybe he'd be an upgrade. They're just not all in the circumstances where they would necessarily want to do it. And Pittsburgh found someone else. Cleveland found someone else that was cheaper. And maybe they're tanking. The Giants found someone else. The Saints are weird, doing what they're doing. Maybe these teams are all sort of eyeing next year's draft already. Let's get Michael in. Hi, Michael.
Hello. I would like to talk about Kirk Cousins. I don't know why he's the backup for the Atlanta Falcons. It's the stupidest thing since the World War.
What? Okay. I wanted to talk about Kirk Cousins because, like, I'm at work. Otherwise, I don't really see why you wanted to. But okay, maybe I missed something. Mike Schopp here. Bulldog is off today. This is WGR. Going to have my conversation with Paul Hamilton next, talking about Bowen Byram and where we're headed here with the Sabres. I didn't say this with Paul on. I wasn't really looking to debate it. I don't know what he would say, but I'm going to guess he would probably disagree. Isn't Rasmus Dahlin already the best defenseman in Sabres history? No? I mean, if it's not him, where are we at? Housley or Ramsey? Right? Probably? I mean, Phil Housley's in the Hall of Fame. He played for so long after he left here. Like, he was here 10 years, right? Then went to Winnipeg and lots of other places. That's a respectable name for this. So is Ramsey. I mean, Ramsey was mostly a Sabre, and he was so consistent and solid. But there was really it's a different era. It wasn't asked of him. There was no offensive upside at all. I feel like Dahlin doesn't get enough credit, I think. And this thing with Byram, it just seems like such bad management to sign somebody for this money to put with the best guy. Like, you shouldn't need to spend what they're going to spend, if he stays with Dahlin, on Byram. And if he doesn't, look out. I mean, that could be bad, as it was last year. So I don't know. I just had the thought when I was thinking about my chat with Paul, to say that. I think maybe Dahlin is already there, but debatable. As I said, Paul Hamilton was on earlier, and that conversation is coming your way next. This is Mike Schopp on WGR. Let's get Michael in. Hi, Michael.
Hello, I would like to talk about Kirk Cousins. I don't know why he's the backup for the Atlanta Falcons. It's the stupidest thing since the World War.
What? Okay. I mean, I wanted to talk about Kirk Cousins because, I'm at work. Otherwise, I don't really see why you wanted to. But okay, maybe I missed something. Mike Schopp here. Bulldog is on.
We've been living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day, I'm right. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees. It's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over. It's about time. Oh, sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to